So there are a lot of fancy pants cameras out there these days, but they cost a pretty penny. So some people are thinking, what about the A7 III? This camera was revolutionary. This changed the game. Is it still relevant today? The answer is obviously yes. The question is it for you? So the A7 III still has a combination of factors that no other camera has in 2022 under $2,000. It's a full frame camera with a great sensor, 24 megapixels. Its 4K is actually downsampled from 6K, so it's extremely sharp. It has fantastic autofocus, and it also has dual card slots for simultaneous recording of both video and photo. Now there are other cameras that have some of those features, but no other camera has all of those features. So why is that a big deal? Well, if you're somewhere where you cannot lose footage, you can't afford to take a camera with one card slot. If you're at a wedding and you're shooting that lady's special day, and then you tell her, I have a corrupt SD card, she's not gonna care. She's gonna boot you in the face. And while there's some fantastic offerings from Panasonic, including the G9, the GH5, and even the S5, the G9 and GH5 are Micro Four Thirds sensors, and the S5 still doesn't have good autofocus. Well, at least it doesn't have consistently reliable autofocus. So now I'm going to show you a situation for which I would not recommend the A7 III. What I'm doing right now, vlogging, because the lack of flip screen, not so great. I'm using a little mirror hack. It's not a hack, it's a little device I bought for about $20. And it does a good job in letting me see at least where I am in the frame, so I think that's essential. But then I stuck my wireless mic pack on top of that because it took up the hot shoe. And as you can see, even though this is a stabilized lens with a stabilized body, and the stabilization is on, in case you don't know, it is not very stable, and I am walking as carefully as I can. People who know my channel know I'm a huge fan. I'm going to just stop right now, so I'll stop the shaking. They know I'm a huge fan of Catalyst Browse, which really smooths out your footage. So if you're going to vlog a lot, I would recommend the ZV-E10, which is an APS-C camera, or the A7C. They can both do Catalyst Browse, and the A7C costs a similar amount to this camera, and it has that flip out screen as well. So I think for vlogging, that's the way to go. So what don't I like about this camera? Well, from a photo perspective, I don't like the back LCD screen. I think that is a poor resolution screen. Luckily, you have the EVF, which is pretty nice, so that mitigates any problems you might have looking at the back screen. I do wish that that was brighter and easier to use. And speaking of easier to use, the menu system from Sony, it has been a common complaint of people about the old Sony menus, which the A7 III does in fact have. There's no touch screen as well, so it's hard to navigate the menus, and things aren't in an intuitive place. Now, once you get used to your camera and you set it up the way you like with the customizable buttons and the My Menu setting, you can use your camera quite easily. It's just that initial setup. Other camera manufacturers, they have a much more user-friendly system. But other than that, I love it as a photo camera. What I don't love it as sometimes is a video camera. Now, you don't have your articulating screen, which is an obvious one if you're sitting in front of the camera, so you have to do a little mirror like this or take an external monitor. And with the external monitor, if you don't record to the external monitor exclusively, you lose your face and eye autofocus. So it still has autofocus, it just loses the eye and the face. Now, if you record to, say, a Ninja 5 only through the HDMI, then you will get your eye and face back, but then you only have the one recording, you don't have a backup recording in the camera. The fact that the stabilization is not very good is also a drawback in video. Now, a lot of people run this camera on a gimbal, and if you really do want professionally smooth footage, then you're going to get a gimbal anyway. But still, it would be nice if this had more usable IBIS when you are, walking around with the camera. It has a 30-minute record limit, which of course can present some problems. Now, once again, if you're recording to something like an Atomos Ninja 5, then in fact you can record an unlimited amount of time. So that would be the way to go if you wanted to use this camera for lengthy recordings. The lack of 10-bit is a big deal for a lot of people. If you like to do color grading or you want to use this camera to make short films and things like that, then a lot of times people will want to use a log profile, and you want that 10-bit codec to get that extra color information to make sure that your image doesn't fall apart while you're grading. But that's enough of the negative ninny talk. We still have more positive things to talk about. Let's go. So my wife has let me back into my house so I can tell you from the comfort of my studio a little bit more about the A7 III. As you can see, you can use it as a studio camera quite easily. Many people have used it in the studio for many years now. It has all the picture profiles of Sony except A7iii tone, so you can use the S-Logs, but I recommend using the HLG profiles because this is an 8-bit camera, and the HLG3 picture profile will give you the most dynamic range out of the sensor, and it won't fall apart in color grading quite as easily as one of the S-Logs. And that's the thing, this camera does have great dynamic range. You're getting that full frame sensor with great dynamic range, and let's not forget, one of the most standout features of this camera is low light. This camera is fantastic in low light. It rivals basically any camera right up until ISO 12,800. Then after that, maybe the A7S III starts to take over as the low light king. And I have never been in a situation where this does not get me extremely clean footage in low light. I've also never had a situation where the camera overheated. I haven't even seen the overheat warning light come on in this camera. I can run it over and over again for hours at a time. You know, with the 30-minute time limit, you have to stop it and start it again. But it never overheats, at least for me in Canada here, which isn't the warmest country in the world, but I certainly personally have had no overheating issues with this fantastic little camera. Oh, and the battery life. These little Z batteries, Z batteries, these things last like all day. I've been shooting literally all day with this camera. I still have like 30% left on the battery. You take 2 of these batteries with you and this camera, and I dare you to run it out. I dare you. And let's move on to the build quality of this camera. The camera is weather sealed, so as you can see, I was out, it was snowing. When it snows, when it rains, I don't mind taking my A7 III. It is fine in moderate weather. I wouldn't take it out in a monsoon, but it is definitely a weather sealed camera. And you know, my little ZV-E10 that I like to take out vlogging, I would always, if it starts to rain, I just tuck that thing under my jacket and I run for shelter. The A7 III, he's a tough guy. He can take it. And I know this might not be a popular opinion, but I actually like the way the camera feels. I know the grip is a little small and your pinky dangles there like you're some kind of British aristocrat, you know? The fact is, it's a little chunk of metal. It feels like a solid brick. So if somebody's coming, you can knock them out with this camera. Don't do it. Don't ruin your nice camera, but you could do it. It feels so solid. Like I have the A7 IV. Where is it? This is the A7 IV, and while the grip is beefier and easier to actually grip, it feels a little airy, a little light, kind of like more plasticky feeling than this is. This feels great, don't get me wrong. That thing over there, it feels like a little tank. I really like how metally, is that a word? I love the solid metal feel of the A7 III, and I was surprised when I picked this up to find that it felt a lot less solid than the little A7 III. And something a lot of people don't talk about is the APS-C crop mode that is on the A7 III. Like right now I'm using a 35mm lens. I could switch this into APS-C crop mode and my lens would basically be about a 50mm focal length. So you get more length out of your lenses, especially in video, because the video will still be a full 4K quality video, whereas in photos you would go down to about 10 megapixels. So unless you're doing online distribution, then I wouldn't take photos in APS-C mode, unless again it's for web or something like that. But for video, it is a really useful feature. On something like the A7S III, if you go into APS-C crop mode, you have to go down to 1080. So this is pretty cool. And something I definitely need to stress here is how good this camera is as a photo camera. Professional photographers use this camera, no problems at all. It has pro features, and these pictures I took here are headshots of comedians that I know. They needed good headshots for their portfolio. I took them, and I don't want to brag, but this one here, that made it into Reader's Digest. That's right. You're looking at a professional comedian photographer right here. If you want those type of results, A7 III is for you. And let's not forget about the Sony lens ecosystem. First of all, there is a myriad of lenses for the E-mount just from Sony themselves, and then you have all those third-party lenses from Tamron and from Sigma and now Viltrox, and there's so many affordable lenses that can get you such great quality on the A7 III. So the fact is, this camera ends up being a lot cheaper than other cameras when you factor in the lenses. And now let's go back outside one more time, because if YouTube has taught me anything, you have to change locations as many times as humanly possible in order to keep your audience's interest. So we do have to talk about the price a little bit, because this camera is still $2,000 USD at B&H right now, brand new. Now, if you were to ask me, should you buy it for $2,000? I would say maybe not, because the A7 IV is only $500 more. So if your max budget is $2,000, then okay, but if you can save up a little bit more, I think it's worth it to get that A7 IV. However, I don't think that you have to settle for $2,000 for this camera. A, Sony likes to put cameras on sale that are their previous generation cameras, so you might get $100 or $200 off it anyway. And B, the used market, there is a plethora of A7 IIIs out there on the used market. You might be able to pick one of these up for $1,500, $1,600. And in that case, you have a steal of a camera. For photos, no brainer. Absolutely fantastic for photos. For video, you have to do a few workarounds. If you're behind the camera, it's a lot easier. But even if you're in front of the camera, you can make it work. A lot of YouTubers built their channels. They built empires on YouTube with this little camera. So if they can do it, you can do it. But I will say, if you're a video shooter first, something like the ZV-E10 even, or the A7C especially, are probably better choices, as long as that one card slot thing doesn't bother you. And then of course you have the Panasonic S5, which I think is the best value full frame video camera in the world, as long as you don't need autofocus. Its autofocus is unreliable, but if you don't plan to use the autofocus and you want to do a lot of video shooting, then I would definitely take a hard look at the S5. But this camera was truly the greatest hybrid camera of its generation, which means it's still a very good hybrid camera. And if you have one or you're looking to get one, rest assured you're going to get amazing footage. And at the end of the day, that's really what counts. How good is the footage? So I'm standing in a snowstorm right now, so it's a good thing we got that weather sealing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you got one, and I'll be sure to answer it. And we'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye. I'm gonna catch them on my tongue. Yeah. Probably shouldn't do that with all the pollution around.